right now. Pittsburgh's best sports show is about to begin. Call us or tweet us. We've got things to talk about on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome inside the Fan Cave. This is Bob Pompeani with you until 11 o'clock tonight at 412-575-2600. We have our nightly sports call poll for you tonight. And tonight's simple question, which of the Pittsburgh sports teams will win a playoff game first? And your choices are the Steelers. We also have the Penguins, the Pirates, and I threw on the Riverhounds because they've made 7 straight playoff appearances for 7 straight years, and they signed arguably one of the best strikers in the game today. So Andrew Fillipponi of 93.7 The Fan is there. Who would your vote go to, Andrew?
Wow, this is kind of rigged. This is like when Joe Starkey would make a poll, and then he would throw in there Malsey made 9 straight threes, and everybody would vote that because it was better than the alternatives. I would say Riverhounds, and I can't even name, unfortunately. I feel good about that team, and they do a fantastic job. You obviously have good friends over there too, Bob, but not even knowing the composition of their team or what's going on in the USL right now, I would absolutely pick them to be the next team to do it because of what you just said. They're there every year, and the very nature of soccer, one and done, I like their chances better than the Steelers with their current situation. The Penguins now flailing and flagging badly, and then, of course, the Pirates, a team we haven't seen in the playoffs since 2015.
Yeah, and as far as the Pirates, I'm disappointed because I think for them, they should recognize this as an opportunity to stand out for a change on a sports landscape, which doesn't have many big moments right now. The Steelers are where they are. The Penguins are going backwards, and there's not much else going on right now. This is a time where you can strike, and really, by signing a couple of people, and I'm not just talking about left-hand pitchers from Toronto, I'm talking about significant pieces. Although that ship may have sailed already, they missed out on an opportunity. Do you agree with that?
No doubt, but we're going to get the rash. We're going to get the wave of Rowdy Tellez, Michael A. Taylor, guys like that signing here, I would bet, in the next few weeks as we get closer to pitchers and catchers reporting down in Florida. I do think we'll see them make a bevy of those moves. Last year, they spent around $30 million on players like that, and I don't think it'll be quite as high this year because there won't be an Aroldis Chapman contract mixed in there over $10 million. But I bet we get 4 or 5 guys, Bob, who sign major league deals for 1 year.
Yeah. By the way, you see that QR code on your screen. You can hit that up and register a vote, or you can go to kdk.com/connect to do that. And the early numbers indicate the Riverhounds have the lead, but that should probably change as night goes on, although I think it's the legitimate answer here, the way things are going. Pony, the big story of the day, Art Rooney II spoke today, and we heard Mike Tomlin at the end of the season talk about change, and he said there will be significant change on different levels, many levels. I didn't get the same feeling today, and so far they haven't really done anything. Now, I know they have some coaches' contracts expiring, but short of that, it doesn't seem like there's going to be much movement here in this offseason as far as the coaching staff, and then the business takes on after that when it comes to players, free agency, and draft.
I think the Steelers were completely caught off guard by how badly they finished the season. And because of that, they really did not map out what an offseason would look like if they collapsed. And for that reason, I think we're getting Art Rooney expressing disappointment about the way the season ended, but really not hinting at any kind of substantial change for the organization in terms of coaches. And even quarterback, where he said he expects, or his preference would be for one of these guys to sign, either Russell Wilson or Justin Fields. People have said that the quarterback situation is purgatory. I think the owner feels that way about the entire team right now. That there are probably a half dozen reasons that make him think they could be better next year, but equally as many reasons to think, Bob, that they'll be just the same or worse, but not bad enough to actually sink to the bottom and maybe give themselves a really good shot at drafting a quarterback in 2026. So really, I did not think we got an uplifting message today from Art either, Bob. I mean, even in his voice, he sounded like a guy that really does not seem the most optimistic about what the not-so-distant future holds for this football team.
I asked him a couple of questions about, number one, quarterback beyond signing guys, potentially moving from 21 up until the top 10. They've done it before with Devin Bush. They've made moves like that. And this could be one of the years if they see somebody they really like, would they be willing to make that move? And he didn't rule it out, but he didn't endorse it necessarily either. Also, TJ Watt, I asked him if he would ever consider a trade if it brought a big amount of a return, and he said it's unlikely because he sees Watt as somebody they need in the locker room. But short of that, there's not much else you can do here at this point. Other than go through this offseason. I do think they have enough money and will have enough money, Andrew, to spend in this free agent season. So they're going to need help in a lot of positions, and I would start with wide receiver.
Well, there's a lot of things they could have done to their coaching staff, but they decided not to. And obviously Mike Tomlin's at the very top, and I applaud you for being the one person who's asked Art Rooney about that trade report, and he said that wasn't something he was interested in. Okay, so then you move down the list. Terrell Austin, he told the Steelers website he's going to be back next year. Okay, so now no coordinator changes. How about assistant coaches who are under contract beneath them? It looks like Pat Meyer's under contract. I'm led to believe he's going to be back. That's a guy that presided over an offensive line that really didn't get any better in 2024. I know they had injuries, but the guys that did play, I didn't see enough improvement out of, other than Zach Frazier, who I think is going to be a really good player at center. So they could have gone the Eagles route. The Eagles fired 2 coordinators after last year, even in a year where they made the playoffs, and then they came back with 2 new ones, and now they're in their Super Bowl. Not a direct correlation there, but they thought what they had was not good enough. And look at Houston, Bob. Bobby Slowick got fired after 2 consecutive years with playoff wins. So Art could have gone that route if he wanted to, but it's generally speaking not his way, and he's going to be loyal, and he's going to preach continuity and stability even when this team is now mired in one of its worst playoff win droughts in franchise history.
We'll take a break on that note. When we come back, we open up the phone lines for you. It's 412-575-2600. It's the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. We're live on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. All right, welcome back. This is our GMC Sierra tweet of the night. It comes from Kevin Weeks with some breaking news in tandem with ESPN. They're told the Fenway Sports Group taking the Penguins to market this week to explore a potential sale of a minority ownership stake while they would retain full controlling interest. This is interesting, Andrew, and I'm not sure how you look at it. And the Penguins are, as far as an investment, going in the wrong direction now, and they got a lot of problems because they have guys signed up to big contracts. A lot of them have no movement clauses. What do you do if you're Kyle Dubas, and do you think that impacts what they're trying to do right now?
Well, I like Kevin a lot. I've talked to him several times. He really brings a lot of energy to his job, which is both analyst, and now he's done some of this breaking news stuff. They're not taking the team to market. That means they're selling the team. That's not happening. So they're trying to sell parts of the team while also maintaining really complete control over the everyday moves and obviously big picture moves of the franchise. So
it's kind of like what the Steelers did many years ago when they took on minority ownership as part of it, and I think the league made that a mandate. I don't know if this is the case on that.
I mean, Bob, they're in a bad spot right now. Evgeny Malkin went on IR. You've got still goaltending issues, inconsistency there. You've got really, outside of top-line performers like Raquel and Sid and Rust, now that Malkin's out, you've just got a lack of scoring and offense down your lineup. Carlson has had some great moments, but he's also had some unbelievable lows. And you're playing Ryan Graves, who actually now takes the cake for the worst contract on the team with Tristan Jarry down in the minor league. So it's a big hole that they've made worse with the moves, the big moves by Kyle Dubas. He has not helped dig them out of the spot they found themselves in when Ron Hextall buried this team in the ground.
Yeah, I agree with that, and they got to try to dig out even more now. We have Rob Polinsky on Twitter. Hits us up. He says, do you mean game or round with your poll? Penguins win next playoff game, but not 4 of 7. I guess we left that up to winning a round, not just a game, but, take it for what it is. You make the vote whatever you want. Meantime, let's get to the calls. We have a lot of them here, and this would be our Go One Better number one Cochrane caller of the night. We're going to begin with Marty in Charleroi. Hey, Marty, you're first up. What's going on?
Hey, Bob and Pony, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
Hey, Marty.
Hey, my question is, I'm a former Steelers season ticket holder way back from Three Rivers. I want to know, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Is it that our players aren't as good as Kansas City or Philadelphia is, or is it that our coaches aren't as good, or is it
Both.
our owner that isn't as good as their owners? It's got to be one of them three things.
Yeah, Marty, it's players, it's vision for the franchise, philosophical ways of handling things. There's a lot of different ways you can do it. I mean, we cite Philadelphia as one that's gone through 4 different head coaching changes in a decade and a couple of years, and yet they've been to 3 Super Bowl appearances. So you can do it a lot of different ways. Their way is the way they do business, but then it puts an emphasis on what they do in the draft, and I don't think their draft picks recently have been good enough. And then you coach what you have, and if that's not good enough, you end up where you are. And I think Art made a good point today, Pony. He said, I look around, I see that we are not close to where we need to be vis-a-vis these other teams. So that it starts with quarterbacks. If I took one thing away from this, as priority number 1 today was quarterbacks.
Yeah, and I think he said he wants one of these 2 guys back, but then he said the quarterback play they got last year was not close to what the teams that were still playing yesterday in the playoffs were getting. So that makes me think he really looks at Russell Wilson and Justin Fields as just a stopgap for another year. Not really, neither one can you really win big with or do anything with. He just doesn't really like the options that are out there in free agency or in the trade market. He did say that they need to look at a quarterback in the draft this year or next, which I thought he might say, but I didn't think it was a given that he would say they need to already go back into the draft and start exploring the quarterback position. And the one thing I just did not understand why he felt he needed to say this today was when asked about the mistakes they made after Ben retired, he said he didn't learn anything from the Kenny Pickett situation. I don't understand that. Why would you even admit that you didn't learn anything from it?
Right.
That there's nothing he was going to take from that mistake and apply it to the next guy they draft. I was befuddled by that comment. You would think there's got to be something in that selection or in the development of that player that would make you think, hey, the next time we get our hands on somebody, let's not do this twice. So I thought that was unusual and odd that he would answer the question that way. We killed Kenny for saying he wasn't going to learn anything from the sideline while he was the backup. Why is the owner saying that he doesn't really learn anything from one of their biggest missteps as a franchise in the last few years?
I think there's a lot to learn there, especially if you may have looked at it as a reach. There weren't a lot of teams that were going to take him in that position. They chose to, and I think that was more an influence of Mike Tomlin and how he got to know Kenny Pickett. But there's got to be more voices than, making that conversation before they make these picks. They had chances to, draft other quarterbacks over the years, and they took none of them. And they include, Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. If they were looking for a succession plan from Ben Roethlisberger, you have to do that several years in advance. You can't wait until the time actually comes, because then you're forced into making a decision, which this may have been, that wasn't a prudent decision, but one you felt you had to need because there's a quarterback vacancy in that room. So I think you can learn that for sure. Let's move on to this one. It's Alex in Indiana. Alex, you're on with Andrew Fillipponi and Bob Pompeani. What's up?
Okay, Bob, I got one quick one here. Do you think that maybe the reason why they didn't play Justin Fields so much after 6 games was because the amount of snaps that they'd have to use him in? I think, what was his contract or his?
No, I don't think that was it at all.
On how much he
You're
was,
right. There was a stipulation in there. If you got so many, 51% of this, whatever it was. I don't think that was behind that at all, Pony. I think that was Mike Tomlin just trying to. The plan all along was to see what Russell Wilson could do with this team.
Me neither. I agree with you. I actually thought that depending on which quarterback you like more, you could decipher some of Art's comments and think he'd prefer Russ, and you could look at others and say he'd prefer Justin Fields. But if I had to choose one, I would actually say Russell Wilson, and here's why. He was asked about the way he wants the quarterback position to be played, and he said it's still much more about what you do in the pocket and way less about mobility. Mm-hmm. And even now, I thought Russ struggled at the end of the year, but Bob, I still think he's a better pure quarterback in terms of passer of the football and reading defenses than Justin Fields is. And I'm not even really sure Justin Fields will ever get to that level. So I think Russell Wilson probably had to like hearing that from the Steelers owner today.
But
or maybe he's just made up his mind that he's going to go to Vegas with Pete Carroll.
He could. I agree with that comment, by the way. I think in order to succeed in this business here at this level, you better be able to throw in the pocket, and you better be able to develop that part of your game if it's not there to begin with. And so far we haven't seen it. They're hoping it can. One more call before we go to break, and that would be Jim in Green Tree. Jim, you're up. Go ahead. Hello, Jim.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
What's up?
Hey, Bob.
Go ahead, sir.
Hey, Bob. Hi, Phil. How you guys doing? Hey, Bob, if you want to win some money, bet on Kansas City because the referees want them to win. That game against Buffalo, that was rigged. That ball was intercepted by Buffalo.
Well, that was a bad call, but rigged is a...
They're done.
Well, they may be. They're going to have to make some changes there as well. I hear too much, Pony, about rigged. It's too bad. I'm not going to entertain that. I hear it. I understand it. They're bad calls. Does Kansas City benefit from a lot of bad calls? Yes, and they did yesterday also.
I think there's a lot of subconscious bias where the referees believe that the better team or the team that's won Super Bowls is making the right play or the winning play and the other team is not. But I don't really have an explanation for how they bungled the Josh Allen quarterback sneak that got ruled short. There was never a measurement on the field. The official that had a look at the football was the one that got overruled when the referees conferenced. And then, as Mike Tomlin likes to say, that yard line, you had a clear line to gain. So the spot call is easier to make, and they got it wrong on replay. So horrible, horrible sequence there. And the Chiefs capitalized and scored right after that.
They did. They took full advantage of that. We got to go to a break. We'll take it. Remember to vote. Go to the QR code and let us know who you think will win the next playoff game of all these Pittsburgh sports teams. And I will say game. It doesn't have to be a series. Who does that? Right here on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call. Ken Rice is standing by with a preview of what's coming up tonight at 11 on KDKA. Ken?
Bob, tonight at North Hills Communities making changes to a dangerous intersection a month after a deadly crash. Plus, the state confirms the first case of bird flu, how it's responding, and why Penn State's considering closing some branch campuses. All coming up right here at 11.
All right. Thanks, Ken. Appreciate that. Pony, we're almost out of time, and we have the results. The Riverhounds lead so far. You can still vote. Go to the QR code. And, Pony, I'll see you tomorrow. Well, I'm sure a lot more to talk about.
See you, Bob. Have a good one.
All right, that's going to do it. Andrew Fillipponi over at 93.7 The Fan PM team. Thank you for joining us. We thank you for joining us as well. Call us again tomorrow night. 10:35 is the start time. Love to hear from you on the Ireland Contracting Nightly Sports Call right here on KDKA Plus and 93.7 The Fan. Good night.